I'm Jennifer Demuth, the Director of Health Promotion and Community Relations at the Tuscarawas County Health Department. And we are here today to talk about our Environmental Health Bureau at the Tuscarawas County Public Health Department. Before we get into it, it's the beginning of summer, and this is that time of year where you get your bonfire ready. You have all those big marshmallows and hot dogs and buns. You get them all packed up, and you climb out to the backyard with your family, and you're starting to roast those marshmallows, and what happens? The mosquitoes come out. We've all been there, right? And they can ruin your party, and before you know it, you have to roast your marshmallows fast, and you're inside, looking outside at the beautiful evening that you can't enjoy because the mosquitoes came to your party and you didn't invite them. We're going to talk about mosquitoes as part of our topic today, but before we do that, first we're going to talk about what we do in public health, and specifically what we do in our Bureau of Environmental Health Services. Today, I'm very fortunate to have with me two leaders from the Tuscarawas County Public Health Department, including our Director of the Environmental Health Services Department, who is also a registered environmental health specialist, Caroline Terakedis. Caroline, welcome.
Thank you, Jen. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Glad to have you here. Thanks for joining us. And we're also very fortunate to have with us Mike Kopko. He is one of our registered environmental health specialists. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Jen. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good to have you. And so, a lot of people think of the health department, and obviously with the pandemic, they think about, all the things we had to do in response to COVID-19. And yes, it was extremely busy time and a tough time. But, during that time, we continued to provide several services to benefit our community. And one of those services, is really everything the Environmental Health Bureau does. So Caroline, can you tell me a little bit about the services of the Environmental Health Division?
Absolutely, Jen. So the Environmental Health Division is always out. We're out every day. Sometimes we're out, on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. We're always out there protecting the public health of the residents of Tuscarawas County. It's one of those services that really never stops. It's something we're always doing. What we do on a daily basis, we inspect restaurants, we inspect grocery stores, we inspect mobile food services, and if you want to have an event on the weekend and you're selling food, we're out there inspecting those temporary food service events as well. So that's just a routine activity that we're doing.
And you're inspecting, those food service providers for what? Just to make sure the food is safe?
That's absolutely what we're doing. We are making sure that the food is safe. We're making sure that it's being cooked properly, that it's being cooled properly, that you're safe when you're out eating in restaurants in Tuscarawas County.
That is really good to know. I like to get carry out with my family, and I want to know the food is safe.
And that's kind of one of the things that we're going back to doing now is dining in restaurants, and we have been doing carry out a lot more during the pandemic, but that's one of those things where people are getting out and about, supporting our local restaurants, supporting the local economy, and that's, we want to make sure that you're safe when you're out and about. And that's kind of what public health is all about, those little intangible things that you don't realize we're doing every day to protect the public.
And speaking of those things that people don't realize we're doing every day, what are some of the other services of the Environmental Health Department that you're doing behind the scenes to protect us?
Absolutely. We are also, we inspect public swimming pools and spas. We inspect RV and campground parks. We investigate if you're bitten by an animal. We investigate that. We are also there to help if you have questions about lead poisoning and preventing lead poisoning in, humans. We investigate animal rabies bites. So if you are bitten by a dog, we're going to go out and make sure that that dog does not have rabies. We're going to make sure that all the rabies vaccinations are up to date on any animal or cat, dog that is involved in biting a human. We also permit water wells and home septic systems, and we do solid waste inspections. So what I mean when I say that is large scale landfill operations, community composting, those types of things. We're out there inspecting those. We're inspecting the landfill every 2 weeks. We're inspecting those composting facilities at least once a month all year long. So these are the activities that we've continued to do throughout the pandemic. We also permit and inspect home sewage treatment systems. And we also do mosquito control. And I think that's what we're kind of here to talk a little bit about more today.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. But, you were talking a little bit about water and water wells and septic systems and landfills. And when you inspect those things, you're really making sure that the quality of the water we drink is good, right? Because when those are maintained well, our water is healthy.
Absolutely. So we're protecting the water that you're drinking. We're protecting the groundwater. A lot of our inspections and services are designed to protect drinking water, food, and, the groundwater that we are using here in Tuscarawas County, as well as surface water. So, I know Tuscarawas County has the Tuscarawas River, and people like to get out and they like to fish and kayak and canoe and make use of that river and enjoy. That's one of the great features we have here in Tuscarawas County. So the programs that we do are, again, kind of behind the scenes. If you have septic systems that are shooting out sewage into your river, you're really not going to want to go swim and boat and fish there. So that's kind of one of those things that we built into our, programs, is keeping those surface water safe and making this a great place to live.
So speaking of water, and Mike, maybe you can talk a little bit about this next item. We know that mosquitoes like water. Mosquitoes don't just like our backyard barbecues and bonfires to spoil, but they also like water. What are some of the areas that mosquitoes are naturally drawn to, and it's normal to find, their habitats there? I think it might be helpful to know those things so we can try to avoid.
Yeah, and they do like your backyard barbecue, but and they do like water, but they also require water to really establish themselves in the first place. So, when you're talking about specific locations, down here, like Caroline mentioned, we do have the river, and around the river, there's a lot of low-lying areas where water can pool, especially after the snow melts, after the wintertime. And that's typically where a lot of mosquitoes is places as well, but where a lot of mosquitoes lay their eggs. And when those pools fill up with water, that's when they hatch. And that's really in lies the problem and that's also, not to get too ahead, but that's where we can kind of target to, mitigate the amount of mosquitoes that are going to pop up at your backyard barbecue later. Okay. We want to make sure it doesn't get to that point. But places like that, that's where they hatch. That's typically where they live and habitate. And if, and that's why when we're talking about if you're going to go in the woods, it's the summertime, if you're going to go out, just do recreational activities, you're going to encounter that stuff. And so if you'd like, we can talk a little bit too at some point about how to prevent yourself from getting bit and those sorts of things as well.
Yes, I think that's a really timely thing to talk about with summer and the mosquitoes starting to come out in force. First, what are some of the things we can do to help prevent, getting bitten? But also, what are things we can do maybe in and around our home to prevent mosquito habitats? I certainly don't want a bunch of mosquitoes living in my backyard if I can prevent it.
Sure, yeah. So as I mentioned, they like standing water. That's where they're born, and there's many places around the home that you wouldn't necessarily think can harbor even just a cup of water. Could be a location where they would lay eggs and all of that. Similarly, bird baths, scrap tires, trash cans uncovered, things like that. Pools that are not maintained. That's a good. So basically, just draining the water out of places that can hold water in your backyard is a great way to reduce the number of mosquitoes. But a lot of people have bird baths. Make sure you change the water once a week, things like that, so the populations can establish themselves in those locations.
Okay, like when my kids were little, they used to have a backyard sandbox, and they had little buckets, and those buckets would get water, after the rain, and the mosquitoes love that.
Yeah, if you leave them there, and then that's a good way to.
So remember to go and pour those out, turn them upside down.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what other things can we do to help prevent, mosquitoes loving our yards, and what can we do to help prevent being bitten?
As for and not just things around your house itself, your gutters, make sure those are cleaned out. Again, it's all really kind of comes back to standing water in most cases.
Okay.
The mosquitoes that do hatch and become adults at that point, they're obviously have to bite you some during the day, some more closer to dusk and throughout the night. But typically, if you're going to go out anywhere where there may or may not be mosquitoes, wearing a long sleeve shirt, wearing long pants, using bug spray, that sort of stuff,
okay,
can help prevent you to get bit.
Okay, excellent. We want to prevent that if we can, so we can enjoy the outdoors this summer, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think, this would be a good time to talk about, what we do at the Tuscarawas County Health Department to help prevent, large infestations of mosquitoes in our communities. And
absolutely. What we're primarily concerned with at the Tuscarawas County Health Department is reducing transmission of mosquito-borne disease from mosquitoes to humans. So we know that we're not going to kill every single mosquito in Tuscarawas County. That's not really a goal that we can reach. But what we want to do is we want to reduce the population of mosquitoes to the point where we're not getting disease transmission to people. So we do we have a three-pronged approach to mosquito control here. We do disease surveillance. So we go out and we catch mosquitoes as they're adults and they're trying to lay their eggs.
So, Caroline, I understand that you do a lot to look for, potential disease in mosquitoes. What are some of the diseases that you look for that are more common to find, particularly here in Ohio and in Tuscarawas County?
Absolutely. So the primary disease that we're concerned about is, of course, West Nile virus. We have West Nile virus here in our community here in Tuscarawas County, and actually it's in all of Ohio. So that's the primary disease that we're concerned with. There's also Eastern equine encephalitis. There's St. Louis encephalitis. Those are the kind of the diseases that we're primarily concerned about with mosquitoes.
Okay.
And the way we do our mosquito surveillance program is we tend to focus on those mosquitoes that can transmit West Nile virus. We actually brought one of our traps here today to show you kind of how we do it. And it's really kind of interesting. So this is a gravid trap, and it is designed specifically to catch the Culex pipiens mosquito. And what we know about them, we know a little bit about their biology, so we use that to kind of focus on the Culex pipiens mosquito. They are known to they want to breed in highly organic water. So what that actually means is that it's really nasty, stinky, gross water. So we make this water that we put it out in the sun for like 7 days, and it's just water and grass clippings, and we let it sit out there in the sun and get really stinky and nasty. And they love that. They're like, this is a wonderful place to lay my mosquito eggs. We fill that black tub up with the nasty water, and then we turn on the fan inside of the trap. And when the mosquitoes come in to lay their eggs, they get sucked up into that trap, and then it catches them and holds them in there. And we leave that there overnight. We set it in parks and locations are all across the county. We set this there, and then we catch these mosquitoes, and we bring them back to the health department, and we put them in little vials of 50, and we send them off to the Ohio Department of Health for testing. And then they test each one of those pools, we call them, of mosquitoes. And if we get a positive pool of mosquitoes, then we will spray or adulticide using the truck and then the spray that comes off the back. That's when we, go ahead and spray within 1.5 miles of that positive trap.
Okay. And so when you spray, how does that work, to kill the mosquitoes?
So the way the mosquito spraying works is we do it in the evenings when mosquitoes are most active, and we drive through populated areas and we spray, the spray, it comes out the back of the truck off the sprayer. But it's not as effective as some of the other control activities that we do. Mosquitoes literally have to fly through the spray to be killed by the spray. So we use that as a last resort. We try to do some of our more effective control activities prior to that. So like Mike was just talking about how we find the mosquito larvae in standing water. Mm-hmm. They're much easier to kill when they're in that form. So that's where we really want to try to control that population, is when they're in that standing water. It's the least environmentally impactful way to kill the mosquitoes, and it's the most effective. So remember, the mosquito has to fly through the spray. It just has to be in the water with the larvicide for it to kill that. And we brought some larvicide to show you. So this is our larvicide that we use to control mosquitoes when they're still in standing water, so before they hatch and fly. This type of larvicide is actually a bacteria. So it only impacts mosquitoes, mosquito larvae. It only impacts them. So it's really, really safe. It has a low environmental impact, and it's one of our more effective products that we use to control mosquitoes here in Tuscarawas County.
Okay. So how do you find out about areas of standing water in the county that need treated?
So we absolutely already have a list of sites that we visit on a regular basis. So our communities, they decide to participate in our program, and we go out and routinely do surveillance with the traps.
Okay.
And we also routinely larvicide as part of that mosquito control program. But we also get sites from when we get complaints. People will call in and say, oh my goodness, there's a bunch of standing water behind my home, or there's a bunch of standing water at this site. And we can go out and treat those. And, if we do regularly post on Facebook, like, hey, we're getting ready for our mosquito control season. Let us know where, you see standing water, or if there are areas of tires. And we can go out and treat those. So that's something that we're going to do, because we will have 2 full-time staff this summer devoted exclusively to the mosquito control program.
Caroline, that's really good to know, because our community can really take part in helping to control the mosquito population by reporting these big areas of standing water, and they can help us out and partner with us. Let's keep those mosquitoes from destroying all our summer activities.
That's a really great partnership that we have with our residents here. And another really great partnership that we have, and I think Mike can maybe tell you a little bit about this, is we have with the Solid Waste District and Gales Recycling, a really amazing program where you can take 12 scrap tires to Gales. I think maybe Mike can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, as she mentioned, Gales allows people to bring 12 tires per driver's license per year. And the reason, and that is funded by the Solid Waste District, they allow them to collect them, and then a company comes and disposes of them properly. Tires are such a hot button issue. Because they hold water. And so though the tire itself isn't really going to do much, but sit there, but they hold all that water. So, a lot of people, tend to, put them places where they shouldn't, or they store them when they shouldn't. And there's lots of them build up, but there's no place to take them, because there's no local area really to take them, and it's expensive to dispose of them. So the fact that Gales has that service to offer to the community has been a big help in past years, giving people an outlet. We also have done in the past tire cleanup events or amnesty events where we've allowed people to just bring however many they want. Now, this isn't commercial people; these are just residents, But as far as mosquito control goes, that's one of the biggest contributors to a population. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. So if someone has tires laying around their yard, or if their neighbor has tires and they're not sure how to dispose of them, my understanding is they can take it to Gales. Is it recycling?
Yeah, Gales Recycle
in Dover? Or
it's in Dover.
Okay.
There on Florence Avenue. You can take 12 per driver's license per year.
That is really good to know, because oftentimes if you have spare tires, you don't know, how to get rid of them.
They take them with rims too. So you don't have to worry about that. They'll have a machine to take them off.
Because not everyone's a mechanic and can take those off. That's really good to know. Okay. So, Mike, tell us about this object that looks like a drum that you brought for us, and what role this plays in mosquito control.
Yeah, this contraption here is similar to the other trap that we just Caroline just showed us. This is a different style trap called a BG Sentinel, and it works in a similar way. It kind of draws air in through the top, and all these traps wasn't mentioned earlier. Both of these are meant to catch a specific type of mosquito. This one, different habitats, I guess. So that one simulates the standing water that they'll come. That Culex pippins is technically the one for that one. It'll that carries West Nile virus. It's going to trap that one. This one, off the top of my head, I don't remember exactly which one is going to, or is this one's trying to trap. But there is a bait that is supposed to be used. There's this little hole right here, and the bait goes in there, and it's supposed to smell like carbon dioxide or human skin. It's supposed to simulate the human scent so that it draws the mosquito in, and as it approaches. So there's the plug to power it. as it approaches this top area, it will suck it in, the mosquito in, and trap them in a net. And that's how we how we collect them.
One of the really interesting things about this type of trap is the other trap is designed to catch those Culex pipiens, the West Nile virus mosquito. This traps all types of mosquitoes. Anything that would bite a mammal is attracted to that carbon dioxide scent. Okay. And so that kind of gives you a broader perspective of different kinds of mosquitoes that you can catch, and that we can see what we have here. So we look at many different mosquito species using that trap. Mm-hmm. So that kind of gives you a broader perspective of what kind of mosquitoes activity we are having here in our county.
Yeah. So really, at the Tuscarawas County Health Department through environmental health, we're doing everything we can to trap many different types of mosquitoes, to check for disease, and then try to protect the public to the best of our ability.
Absolutely. We're using all of the resources that we have here at our disposal.
Sounds really good, and we appreciate that work, especially as a Tuscarawas County resident. We appreciate that very much. So we were talking about mosquito spraying earlier, and it reminded me of an important concern that a lot of our residents have, especially, during the pandemic, a lot of people took up new hobbies. And I know I have several friends who took up beekeeping and started their own hives during the pandemic because, they had some extra time at home and thought, hey, I always wanted to have my own honey. So, if someone has a beehive and, they want to be sure that the mosquito spraying doesn't harm their hive, what can they do?
So we absolutely want to protect our environment. We do not want to impact our pollinators. We recognize as environmentalists the important role they play in all of our environment. I mean, this is an agricultural community. We respect that. We understand that pollination is a huge part of that. So we really go out of our way to ensure that we're protecting those registered bee hives. So what happens is they're registered with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. Every year we check with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources to make sure that we are, up to date on where the hives are. And then we do not spray anywhere near where people are keeping bees. Additionally, if you don't want us to spray near your house, we absolutely understand that. Please go ahead and give us a call at 330-343-5550 and let us know, hey, I don't want you to spray on my street, and we won't. So that's really important that people know, they can, if your community has chosen to opt into this program, you can choose to not be a part of that, at least of that particular part of the mosquito control program.
That is really good to know. And going back to, the beehives and registering your hive with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, that's kind of a complicated step, and starting your own hive can be complicated enough. So if someone doesn't know how to do that, could they call your department and, maybe you can give them the resources for how to register their hives? Absolutely.
We can help them out with that. We can also just take them off the spray list too. So we can do both. We can help with one and actually just go ahead and do the other.
Excellent. So you can make it easy for people to protect their new hobby hives.
Yes, and honey. That's a great hobby. That's really one that really, helps the entire community.
Absolutely. Okay. And what was the name of the species of mosquito that, can cause West Nile? Like Culex pipiens?
Culex pipiens.
Culex pipiens.
Yes.
Okay. So everyone, you heard it here first. The next time you're having a bonfire and those mosquitoes are trying to get at you, you can just say, hey, you Culex pipiens, leave us alone. But if that doesn't work, I think it's a great idea to try a lot of the tips that we learned here today. I want to thank Caroline Terakedis, our Director of the Environmental Health Services Department at the Tuscarawas County Health Department. And I also want to thank Mike Kopko, our Registered Environmental Health Specialist. And we thank you for being here today, for sharing about mosquitoes and what we can do to help prevent them from spoiling our summer fun here in Tuscarawas County. And we do want to mention that to get a hold of our Tuscarawas County Health Department Environmental Health Services Department, you can reach us at 330-343-5550 or email them at eh@tchdnow.org. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to bringing another topic to you later this summer.